You've probably heard this a million times. The conflicts tearing the Middle East apart are fueled by ancient hatreds, religious feuds that have simmered for centuries. But what if that's not the real story at all? What if the bloodshed that we are seeing in the headlines stems from things that are more recent? Like 20th century borders drawn by foreigners, modern propaganda, and power plays. Today we're going to dismantle the 10 biggest myths that are used to explain and justify these narratives, and spot the real forces shaping the world today. Myth 1. It's an age-old region of endless hatred. This is perhaps the most persistent myth of all, that the conflicts in the Middle East are the inevitable result of hatreds that stretch back to time immemorial. But the truth is far more recent. The modern borders of countries like Syria and Iraq were largely drawn by European diplomats in 1916 with the Sykes-Picot Agreement. This, along with later British and French mandates, carved up the region without any regard for the people who were living there, forcing rival ethnic and religious groups into brand new states. The chaos we see today is not the outcome of ancient feuds. It's the direct, painful fallout of colonial lines drawn on a map over a century ago. Myth 2. Foreign powers are there to bring peace. History tells a very different story. From the proxy wars of the Cold War, where superpowers were arming opposite sides, to the 2003 invasion of Iraq, foreign intervention has almost always acted as an accelerant. Instead of bringing stability, these actions have almost consistently been pouring gasoline on local fires. They've armed factions, destabilized governments, and in some instances created power vacuums that allowed extremist groups like ISIS to rise from the ashes. Myth 3. The Iraq-Iran war was just a Sunni-Shia holy war. While sectarian differences were used as a powerful propaganda tool, the war's origins were rooted in geopolitics, not theology. Saddam Hussein, a Sunni, feared that Iran's 1979 Islamic Revolution would inspire Iraq's own Shia majority to rise up against him. His invasion wasn't a crusade. It was a calculated land grab aimed to secure the vital Shatt al-Arab waterway and to crush a political movement before it could gain traction. It was a war for power and territory cloaked in the language of religion. Myth 4. The Lebanese civil war was just a Muslim versus Christian conflict. The conflict was ignited by a power-sharing system established by a French-era constitution known as the National Pact that no longer reflected the country's demographics. This political inequality was made bigger by social disparities. When the Palestinian Liberation Organization, or PLO, arrived and created a state within a state, it added another explosive layer. Alliances constantly shifted and frequently crossed religious lines. While neighboring Israel and Syria poured fuel on the fire, turning Lebanon into a proxy battlefield for their own agendas. Myth 5. Jews have no historic connection to the land. A popular claim is that modern-day Israel is a purely colonial enterprise with no authentic roots in the region. But both archaeology and historical records confirm a continuous Jewish presence in the land dating back 3,000 years. Long before the modern Zionist movement began, Jewish communities existed there. The wave of immigration in the 19th and 20th century was seen by those arriving as a return to their historic homeland where their people were already living, not an invasion into a foreign land. Myth 6. Israel struck without any provocation in the 1976 war. The narrative that Israel launched a surprise, unprovoked attack in 1967 omits critical events that led up to that first shot. In the weeks before the war, Egypt expelled UN peacekeepers that were there to keep the tensions down. Then it moved a massive amount of troops into the Sinai Desert, right on Israel's border. Finally, Egypt blockaded the Straits of Tiran, cutting off Israel's primary shipping route, an act widely considered a declaration of war under maritime law. Facing armies gathering on three sides and facing direct threats of annihilation, Israel decided to launch a preemptive strike. Myth 7. The term Palestinian has always referred exclusively to Arabs. Words matter, and the word Palestinian has a history that's often overlooked. Until the middle of the 20th century, the term was geographic, not ethnic. It described everybody living in the region then known as Palestine, regardless of their ethnicity or faith. There were Palestinian Jews, Palestinian Christians, and Palestinian Muslims. Local newspapers, orchestras, and even passports issued by the British Mandate used the term Palestinian to describe all three groups. The idea of Palestinian as an exclusively Arab concept solidified later, in parallel with the rise of modern Arab nationalism. Myth 8. The displacement of the Palestinians is a uniquely unresolved tragedy. In the 1948 war, around 700,000 Palestinians fled or were expelled from their homes, creating an international refugee crisis that plays an important role in the conflict today. What is often left out in this story is that in the same time period, the same number of Jews were forced out of Arab countries around the Middle East and North Africa. The vast number of these Jewish refugees were resettled, primarily in Israel. The political decision to perpetuate one group's refugee status while ignoring the others has become a major obstacle to find a genuine solution to the conflict today. Myth 9. Israel was a massive underdog against Arab armies in 1948. On paper, the odds looked impossible for the newly created state of Israel. The surrounding Arab armies had a clear advantage when it came to manpower and conventional military hardware. However, wars aren't fought on paper. The Arab forces were poorly coordinated, often operating with conflicting national objectives rather than a unified strategy. In contrast, the Israeli military, while lacking heavy weaponry, were highly organized and fighting with the desperate motivation of sheer survival. This organization and fighting spirit proved decisive factors leading to their victory. Myth 10. The Arab world is inherently violent or culturally backward. This is a classic Orientalist trope that's both racist and historically ignorant. It conveniently ignores the Islamic Golden Age, a period when the region was the global center for science, medicine, and culture, while Europe was in the Dark Ages. It also conveniently ignores Europe's own history with violence, including the two world wars in the 20th century. The turmoil seen in the Middle East today has clear modern causes. The toxic legacy of colonialism, the distorting politics of oil wealth, and the generations of dictators propped up by foreign powers. Not some imaginary cultural defect. If you are finding this breakdown valuable and feel like you're learning something new, please comment down below. The conflicts in the Middle East are not destiny. They are not the inevitable result of hatreds baked into the culture. They are the direct product of modern history, of lines on a map, of calculated propaganda, and of cynical power politics. When we finally ditch the ancient hatred storyline, we can start to see the situation for what it really is. We can see the real choices, the real interests, and most importantly, the real people behind every single headline.